Hi, welcome to Zion Messages. Glad to talk to you guys today. So, I will be talking about the inauguration, a few of my thoughts on that. Um, Talking about this concept of us belonging to a church. I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Some people belong to their church of their work. Some people belong to the church of their following. Some people belong to the church of vacationing. So it just kind of, that idea just kind of helped me understand and come to peace of like, why can't I go as fast as some of these people? And what I desire to do is that's because they belong to that church of it. And I'm not dedicating my whole life to it. So I'll talk more about that. Talking about entertainment again, but an experience how I was blessed, I feel like, with peace because I had stuck to my guns on not watching or being a part of a certain entertainment thing. So that was really, it was a small reminder to me, a powerful reminder that what I had chosen a while back to try to uplift my entertainment, it's actually helping. So, and then I wanted to talk about a couple of stories of Abraham Lincoln and William Scott, I think is his name. There's a soldier that was pardoned by him. That it's kind of a cool story and a cool analogy for us. And wanted to talk about another story, like I said, about this like BuzzFeed video about Panda Express. It was made like 10 years ago, and that Chinese people ate the food of Panda Express, and it depended on which group they were part of. One liked it, one didn't. I'll tell you why. So there's parallels with it, so it's kind of interesting. And then lastly, or maybe I'll talk with it first, asking God to help change your mind about certain people and really putting it in his hands and helping you really come to a better place in your mind to have charity for that person. So whoever that is for you. So, because I've had to do that, and it really helped me even just today. So, yeah, the inauguration. I was able to watch it, and I had cinnamon rolls with my family. I was just my kids and I made cinnamon rolls the night before, had them all risened up, I guess, however you'd say it. And once they're once they can raise to that certain level, I could just stick them in the fridge so they're ready to bake the next morning. So I didn't have to like wake up early and have them ready that way. And I hadn't taken time to make cinnamon rolls in a while, so it was really fun. And just having more of a lazy morning because there was no school. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And just helping my kids understand and see all of the stuff with our country and how this transition of power works, and teaching them a little bit about it. And I just felt really patriotic. I don't know how you did, how you felt, but it felt really good to hear some of these the straight shooting things that he had to say, Trump, at the during his speech. So a couple of takeaways from me was that it felt peaceful, it felt hopeful, and I felt pretty happy in it. But I also thought to myself, should I not feel this happy? Am I putting all my eggs in like the basket of politics right now? And I could tell I wasn't, but it definitely is. It is a spiritual thing right now. We're in a spiritual battle, and at least in my opinion, and I know some people don't agree, that he is the man for the job right now to help prepare for Christ's second coming, because he's going to have these policies set in place, as he's already done, talking about the genders, talking about closing our borders, talking about being out of wars, and we don't even need to start them or be in them. And all these things are going to be righteous, good things. I know it's not all going to be perfect, but those are all the concepts I feel like are going to be helpful for us and our country right now. And there has to be something in it that he's being a part of that. And it feels like it's a normal family that's in there, like, and they're not normal necessarily, like they have lots of money, but they are more of a normal family in office. It just feels like this is more of the people. And I was on a run today, and I passed by this like a silo thing that had the in big letters on the back, "In God We Trust," and it just made me feel patriotic thinking about it. And I'm not one to talk very eloquently about politics, but I listen to it quite a bit, and I've started to get more and more political. And I had some thinking about it of I could still be political and be somewhat still peacemaking about it, because like I've said before, it's when you don't say anything, that doesn't mean it's peace. It just means you avoided conflict and the problems are still there and you could have done some good. Though I don't want to open up anything in my family that will be bad. So I quietly have, it's kind of like Abish. She knows and she has her opinions, and then when the time is right, she could be able to talk, just like in the Book of Mormon, Abish, that she, for a while, she had a lot of these things in her heart. So that's just politically. I think even that story of Abish will work handy for later on. I feel like I had this feeling that I've had a lot of thoughts and thought process about the calamities and the things of the last days that may come, and that I have already kind of thought and processed of it, that it's a thing. And there will be many people that won't even know and feel like that's a thing and be so shocked and shook. And I could be there to help them. And I had that feeling, and God maybe gave me that kind of visual that it's kind of like Abish, like she had already thought about it, had already processed through and knew her testimony. And same with me, I've already thought about it a lot and knew my testimony. I've done a lot of research on Second Coming stuff that is I enjoy. I also feel like it's part of me helping me prepare spiritually. I'm not someone that wants to just go and shout it out, but I am also trying to share some good on this channel. So I'm glad you're listening, but think about that and how you can kind of keep them in your heart, these things in your heart, and when it's time, you can be able to share. So same with the politics. And I think my kids are really trying to figure it out. And that's why I have to be somewhat political to help them understand, and give them, rather than it just being a funny thing at school, like at my son's middle school, they just talk about the Orange Man. Yeah, we love the Orange Man. Like, and they just, of course, we live in a conservative area, so a lot of these kids are also excited that Trump is winning because all their parents are probably talking about that and saying that same thing. But it just felt so cool to have that day and know that it's hopeful. I was nervous about something happening on the 20th, of he getting hurt, something happening with other countries deciding to do something on that day. I think it would have been a great day to do it if they were, but whatever it is, it's in God's hands. I feel like there has to be something to it, that our prayers have stopped some sort of unseen battles, and there are battles on the other side of the veil that we are not seeing, that is probably at play, that are good. And I prayed for, I fasted for, that our country would be protected and safe and be led in a better direction, that we can have prosperity and live this Book of Mormon promise of, as long as we are a righteous people, that we will prosper and God will bless us. And so that's kind of what I was thinking about, of with this whole thing. I just feel like it's I need to have my opinion to then be able to share with my kids, and not be too zip about everything. And but that leads me into the next topic of this idea that I was going to do a reel on it. I have this idea that it would be nice that I kind of create reels or little blips of what I talk about here, but to do a designated small thought once a week on top of my thoughts of this once a week. And one of those things I was going to talk about is this idea that came to my mind, and I think President Nelson has touched on it, that it's to who and to what do we devote our life to, and to make that clear decision now. And so this thought came to me, and I have seen it, and I think many of us see it. I have to make sure I check myself. I'm not trying to judge, but I think what happens, I'm observing it, and that's okay. We need to observe, and we need to judge righteously. Oh yeah, I forgot. That just comes to me now, and that's My husband will sometimes really be kind and talk to me about it when I'll explain different things that kind of come up and I'm not sure how to grapple with it as I see it and I don't like it. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't judge. And he's thinking, we're commanded to judge righteously. I'm like, oh yeah. So that's a misdone thing maybe amongst some of us in the church that are trying to be kind, that we are still to judge righteously. So back on that topic of the church they belong to, in quotes, who and what church do you belong to? So I hope my kids, my family, my neighbors, people know, and it doesn't matter, it's not about me, but if the subject does come up, that they know where I stand. And I want God to know where I stand. I belong to his church and that my time is devoted to him. Of course, finding balance in life, like I'm not even able to sit down and do this until 2:30. And I thought, okay, I would have enough time to do things, but I also have to take care of myself, of other things. I had to make different errands this morning. So it's not like our whole life revolves around church stuff, but that we are operating in that space where we are worthy of the Spirit at all times. And my time is devoted to things I know that God would be glad for and that it's okay. He gives me that go ahead. And that's what was great last week. And some people were really kind about sharing that and commenting. And it was just really cool to also other people understand that God will sometimes give us that go ahead, that we need to take a breather. And I liked what someone said, that we shouldn't set ourselves on fire in order to keep someone else warm. I've never heard that quote. I thought that was really cool, and it's very true. So, but as far as the church they belong to, I guess what came to me is I was observing a few people I've seen for a little while online in their different business things. This Homestead girl, I thought, wow, she's able to do a lot. How is she able to do a lot? And of course, there's maybe people behind the curtains helping her. Her husband is probably helping her a lot. There's more money involved, but it's even more than that. I'm like, how does that work? And I think she's still a really good person, but she's not very spiritual on there. It's just about the homestead stuff. So that's what made me think, is it might not be part of what she does, of going to church, and that's okay, even if she does or doesn't. I'm just observed, she doesn't make it a part of it. And sometimes people have to have that line in their business. They don't talk about politics or the religious stuff. But it was just a reminder to me that people are going to do really good at whatever they devote their time to, completely. And so that's the church they belong to. So it's in the music industry. People do very well sometimes in their music, and that's because they belong to that. There's a whole, I feel like it might be part of the other side of the veil. There's this whole battle going on, that there will be power given to you if you want to, if that's what you want to be a part of and devote your life to, in that church that you want to be a part of. And I may not be saying it quite right, but it just, I've kind of noticed that, like, oh, I guess that's, and I mean, I definitely saw it with the whole fitness and health industry. The people give their lives to that, and they're very good at it. They're able to get to that physique that looks that way, and they know exactly what to do and not exactly what to say. They're able to help a lot of people, maybe. But I have to remember, and I thought about the amount of time I'm doing per week to my church, and also to my own study and devotion to God and prayer. I give a lot of time. I'd say I'm about 15 hours a week at this point, with being able to serve and study and practicing the organ. I mean, I don't know. I didn't add it exactly, but I'm kind of guessing that right here off the cuff. But it's not about the numbers, but I'm just kind of sharing, like, that's quite a bit of time if I also need to do lots of other things as a mom here at home. But it just, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's kind of what I like to talk about here on this channel, is those, of course, Zion messages, like that we are to belong to this church, Christ Church, and build Zion. And that we will, if we are willing and humble, God will show us quickly what are the things are not part of that, and that are like not following what President Nelson's counsel is, to consecrate our life to God and ask him what we should be doing, rather than going on our own way and trying to, of course, be the best we could be. The world tells us that a lot, but is it what God wants us to do? And I've had to go through that. It was really difficult, but I learned, and I was really grateful. And what was really interesting is I felt like I haven't shared this before. I had a spiritual experience about trying to go into coaching and trying to have more of an online presence. But I don't say it a spiritual experience as it really is the good spiritual experience. I've had this feeling that it was Satan trying to tempt me, and I had a very big spiritual experience overnight. I just stayed up all night just thinking and pondering and trying to create ideas, and it was supposedly good, but the way I was feeling was just, it was a counterfeit. And I've been the spirits kind of told me that was a counterfeit. And I kept thinking back on those times where I think, well, I had such a great revelation there that I should do this. I should do the online thing. I should really try to be the girl boss, like I said before. I just don't know how to put those things in containers. So sometimes I throw out those terms so that you just know where I'm at. And that it was that time in my life when I really wanted to try and make more money from home, really try to get after it and do really cool big things. And I sometimes see other people do that. And I knew I was at that point at one point, that I did. I was in San Diego actually on a family trip. So I had more time to think about things. And I remember we'd had a big fun day to go play. And there was one evening where, I just was kind of researching online on things, and I just had this big revelation, like, you should do this. Like, this is a thing you should get into. And there's so much out there that can help you have so much fulfillment and be able to give you the money and work from home and look what so-and-so does. And it can work for you too. And look, there's this opportunity. And I'm really glad I did those things and I learned along the way. And it was for that time, and I could probably still help people in the future, maybe reuse that gift, but I know it was just so strong. Like, I could tell there's probably something that has been sent to many, many people on this earth with the whole influencer idea, is by some sort of presence on the other side. And this is really vulnerable to share because it sounds really weird, or it sounds like I was being deceived, but that's just kind of my take on it, because I did feel that and I know that, so I can't deny it, that feeling and that whole overnight experience where I didn't sleep at all that whole night. I'm just looking and researching and having ideas. I go back to bed, I toss and turn about it, and I just had this like big awakening, and I thought about it on the whole way home and listening to podcasts. I was also trying to have fun with my family, but I had finally like caught this like fire, and I really think it was because it was a counterfeit from Satan. So it was really interesting it's really interesting now, years later, that I'm seeing and knowing and hearing these things. And the reason I tell you is, I guess, because like I talked about last week, the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's good to be aware and have your eyes open, judge righteously. And it's kind of hard to say it. I'm not the type that loves it, but I think if we never talk about it, then it does more harm than good. So whatever fire you catch, maybe just really see if it's from God, or whatever you're seeing, these patterns, and you're just confused, like, why am I not catching up to the pace? And that's because they're operating in a different realm maybe than you are. If you're someone like that's really wanting to watch and listen to these things, imagine you're on the same page as I am, that you want to serve God. He is first and foremost. And that will, of course, come to you in your own revelation, figuring out what is for you. But that is part of it all. We have to do it. So here I am talking about these things I don't necessarily always feel the greatest to talk about, because it's hard to hear. So on a lighter note, let's talk about this experience, a happier experience with my entertainment that I had this week. So there's this one particular movie that came out. Maybe I'll use examples because it kind of makes it a little more real. And even if you've watched it, don't feel bad or anything. I don't even know. I haven't watched it, but I just had this feeling I shouldn't. But it's that show, movie. It's PG-13. It's called Fall Guy, and it has Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in it. And I love both of those actors. And I can imagine, and I just know they probably have really great chemistry and just really funny. And it would be a really good, funny, lighthearted film to watch with my husband, because he's more into watching things, and that's okay. He's on his own path. And I really respect him for not crossing that line with rated R, but for me, I'm taking it that step further, that it's just whatever it is for me. Even all the ratings, like the ratings are created by the world. I'm not even going to listen to that. You could be rated PG, and I could still be like, nope, I don't want to see it, depending on how I feel. So I've been extra picky because I don't want to offend the spirit. And I could tell I had a moment that I needed to decide. I needed to go on commonsensemedia.com and really figure this out, and talk to God, of course. But I did get that feeling like, go on Common Sense Media and see what this movie will be like and get your take on it. And there's a lot of people that said, yeah, it's really great and lighthearted and fun, but there's this. So there's a little bit of poop in there, right? There's a little bit of poop in the brownies. And it's a lot of the swearing. And I have experienced movies where I've heard a lot of swearing after, and it heard a lot of swearing, and then after I felt like I didn't feel good. I'm like, I don't feel good. Like it was fun for the time, but it's not worth this after feeling. Like it offended the spirit. So I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna keep being strict about what I watch. But my husband and I are just left with like, well, what do we do? And it's not like we're really always watching movies. We're honestly like never watching movies together, but we really got to have some balance and do something together. We could play a game. We could like go on a walk, and we've done those things. But I actually do have a strong interest in movies and good stories. And I'm a little bit of a movie buff, but I haven't necessarily watched a lot of the movies lately. And so my husband was like listing through, he's telling me, I can't really watch an old movie right now with you. I'm like, oh, I don't only just watch old movies. He's like, you watched Casablanca last week, and then the week before you watched Meet Me in St. Louis, and then the week before that you watched It's a Wonderful Life. So I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I've watched a lot of older movies. I think there was one more that I watched recently too. Oh, Sound of Music. I had my kids watch Sound of Music, which was wonderful. And my girls loved it. It was so great. My son did not. He went somewhere else. He's like, I don't want to watch this. But they've been singing the songs all week, Doe a deer, a female deer. And it's so cute. And that's the thing. I felt so good after they watched that. And it just felt so uplifting. And the music, I guess I'm keen to musicals, and I think there's a lot of power in music. But back to that story, we decided not to watch that movie. And my husband would have, but he's just being really great, and he knows how I've been really passionate about this, and I'm really gonna not back down. And maybe it won't be like in our younger days and married days that I would watch more of those things with him. Even like, I don't think I could do Marvel movies anymore like I did. And yeah, it's just, that's because I just don't desire, I'm not even in that headspace. I want to have a good story, of course, and I love the beautiful art of a good movie. But that was not going to be that last night. So we were able to watch part of Bonhoeffer. So that's the Angel Studios movie about this pastor spy guy and it has really great themes in it. But my husband, of course, feels a little bit like things could be cheesy through Angel Studios. So once he knows it's through Angel Studios, he's already like, that's just too cheesy. I don't know why. They're doing really great work. It's not even, I think, cheesy at this point. That's I think what they're going for is they want to take away that stigma of Christian films. And these films you could tell they're just top-notch video photography. And yeah, it was really great, and I'm excited to keep watching it. I mean, it's a little slower pace, and but for the most part, maybe I haven't gotten quite to the pivotal moments of the movie. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share with you. The feeling afterwards, I did a little bit of journaling after, just a little bit. on that particular thing. A lot more journaling on this ask God to change your mind on certain people thing that I'll get to. But what I had felt as I was writing out is I felt very quickly right away after I made the decision. And then when I put myself to bed last night, I felt peace. And that is not ever going to be a regret, to know that you did the right thing. You never want to be in that position where you know you should have done something different. But if you do, you have your Savior, you can repent. And I've had those many opportunities to repent, but I need to keep going. And I was really glad that God gave me that peace and that reassurance that you have protected the spirit that is a gift and also kept close to me, because there's so much I need to still have for the days and weeks coming ahead of having this power of the spirit to protect me and to guide me. And I have to create an environment where it is not going to offend it, but actually thrive in it. And it's not like you just never watch anything and never do anything, but you actually need to involve good stories and good things into your life. Seek out all that's lovely and virtuous and good report. And so with saying that, I'll move on to this idea of something I did watch on YouTube of something good. Sometimes I like to learn something on YouTube when I'm doing a workout or something. I was on my spin bike a couple of days ago when I watched this. It was Abraham Lincoln. So I've kind of been thinking a little bit about Abraham Lincoln with MLK Jr. Day and, slaves and all that they had to deal with, and then later on into all the oppressive things that the blacks had to go through these years. So just kind of thinking about it, and things popped up on my YouTube feed, and I saw this really great documentary that was about 25 minutes long, and it was really great done. Like it was beautiful. And but one thing that was in there that I really thought was cool, and I haven't heard this story, was the story of William Scott. And it has a very strong gospel theme to it that I was like, oh, I'm going to figure this out. Who's who as far as God, Christ, and us. And so I'll explain the story before I get ahead of myself. So William Scott was this soldier that fell asleep when he was on duty for watching. So I don't know all the specific stories, but he was on duty for watching the whole army and any people coming to get them. Like, he had to watch. And so he fell asleep, and he was going to be sentenced to prison for his life, or I think even to death. Yeah, I think it was to death. He was going to be sentenced to go to, I think a lot of people died because of him. It wasn't that he just messed up, but he messed up and something happened. But the mom, I guess the mom of William Scott, came to Abraham Lincoln and pleaded with him to pardon his sentence, because she, I guess, had lost her husband and many, many kids, and I think he was the last of her family to be alive. And she's like, for my sake, can you pardon him? I can't go another day thinking he would be lost in that. I tried all my best to stop this. I have to be here today and plead with you, because I have to know that I did my very best to stop this. Of course, with the documentary itself, it talked a lot about the reasons why Abraham was the way he was. He had a lot of compassion. He had a lot of patience. He was quick-witted. He had some humor. So it's kind of cool that's, I think, what they did great with the documentary was helping us understand. He got his compassion from his beautiful mother until she died when he was 9. And then he got his humor from his stepmom that he adored, but she was still motherly to him. And he had gained compassion because he had so many trials in his life where he lost his mother, he lost his sister, he lost his fiance, and his dad left them for 6 months when he was a kid, and was kind of a drifter, and he came back with this stepmom, but that stepmom ended up being a really good person. So he's just gone through so much, and he lost kids, of course. And I know a lot of people during that time, the 1800s, they lost a lot of people died, but it just seemed like it was just a lot for him. So he had that compassion on that mother, and he pardoned it. And so I was thinking about that. That must be a gospel theme right there. And I need to think this through. So I was kind of staying up a little later than I should have at night, and I was thinking about it of like, okay, who's Abraham Lincoln in an analogy to the Godhead, and who is the mother, and who is William Scott? And I think I got it down. I think Abraham Lincoln is God. I think, and I was thinking, okay, why? Because God is part of the justice or mercy. He can either grant it or not. And but he has to be a God of justice. And the mother is the Christ figure. She's pleading on the case of William Scott. And I thought about it even more beautifully that for her sake, she had to have him. She loved him so much. And I thought about that with Christ. He has to have us. He loves us. He created this world for us. He's our elder brother, and he knows us very well. He's actually even suffered for us. He's experienced our whole life, all of our sorrows. So it became clear to me that that mother is the Christ figure in this story. And he's pleading our case, even though it doesn't make sense, but for his sake. And of course, for the person on the chopping block, ours. But then William Scott is us. We make mistakes. Even when we promise and we say we will do something, we don't, and we sin, and we will make mistakes. So I thought it was a really cool story, uplifting, makes me think. And I know that they're all over. That's what's so cool about history, and so cool about learning different things, is we can find those gospel parallels. So another thing I wanted to explain as far as how we navigate with other people around us is another story of Panda Express. I watch maybe I'm on YouTube a little too much. I think we all have our addictions. I might have a little bit of an addiction to YouTube. So I just was watching something about that, how someone said, we can all probably do a little bit better. And so, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And so I've been trying to go outside on walks and try to reach out to people more a little bit, but I still do like to listen to stuff and learn. So, but one thing I was listening to was this, and it looked really interesting. So I clicked on it and I watched it, and it's about Panda Express and how it wasn't it wasn't sponsored by Panda Express, but it's just of how would they react to Chinese food from Panda Express if they are Chinese, and would they like it, and what are their opinions on it? And so they had two groups. Or three, I think it was mainly just what I'm going to talk about today is these two groups of the older group and the younger group. And so the younger group, teenagers, 20-something-year-olds, maybe even some 30-year-olds, they were in the group, and they would eat it and they'd say, oh, this isn't good. It's so much better back home in China, and I blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is just cardboard. It's so greasy. The egg roll, they'd be eating the orange chicken or the chow mein. But then you get to the older people, and probably they deserve to have a big opinion on it because maybe they've really established and cooked all those things in their cuisine for their whole life. But they are so really kind on talking about how good it was and how this is really yummy food. And I like it. And they were just really kind of cute and sweet about it. You can just imagine those cute, sweet little Chinese older folks. And they just have so much wisdom and so much, and that's what I'm going to talk about, is they don't feel like they need to go out and prove something. And so sometimes it's fun to poke around in comment sections and see how people react to things. And I get a really big kick out of some people who are just really smart on the certain things that they comment on. And the one person, it wasn't necessarily comedy. It was more just this person deserved a medal for their comment. It was so, so profound. And she said something to the effect of, this is just showing that there are two different types of securities going on here. The older group, the older Chinese people, they are secure. If there's something new coming in, they can welcome it and be happy about it and be secure, and it doesn't affect or diminish their heritage and where they've come from. They don't need to have this elitism of feeling like they're elite over everything of that domain of China and Chinese food. And but the younger people, of course, sometimes do have that insecurity. So it kind of comes out in this idea of elitism and trying to prove that they know, or they've seen better, they've known better, and that's not good. And so I was like, oh, that's a really good, I noticed it, and it's a really good pattern for even right now. And of course, definitely for politics, that we, and maybe that's why some of the younger folks are very passionate, though there are a lot of older folks that are very passionate too. I think it just matters on your maturity. You could, like I had said before, you could still be 50, 60, 70 and not be necessarily mature. You haven't grown up or something. But as far as what I hope to go for, and maybe to encourage you guys, is to try to welcome some of these new ideas. And if we're going to build Zion, we have to, like, there's going to be a lot of different ideas coming through. We have to do it through the lens of what God hopes for us to choose and do. And his righteousness and his will is always paramount. But to not, like I was saying, judging righteously, I could still take a moment and see, oh, they have a great thing going on that they are spending so much time on, and welcome it, and try not to be the one that I've felt like I've been elite on figuring out my time, on how to spend it, and that I'm now a stay-at-home mom, and that's the best thing you could do, and everyone needs to be a stay-at-home mom, and that's a really huge battle online. I know that there's people that really get big opinions on it, but and even just in circles that you talk to, but for the most part, we are to not act like an expert. That's not really cool. To just think you're the expert and act like you know it. And that's what I really appreciated actually about moving out here to the country. There have been some people, when I talk to them about it, they agree with me when I say, I love living out here. I talk little things about their chickens and what it entails to really help them stay good, or the rabbits, and how the soil is working, whatever. I'll bring up the subject, and a lot of people out here have been like, yeah, I'm even still trying to figure out, but I know they've been here out for a long time, but they just are been so welcoming on, like, just not seeing me as a stranger. You're just coming in from the outside, and I know it all. I won't say there hasn't been anyone like that, but for the most part, I've been really impressed that people are taking that stance of, like, I'm with you. I know exactly how you feel, or celebrating the wins that I do make, and that they didn't already make those successes already. So I thought that was a really interesting analogy that we can bring into our own life. And now you can kind of probably see it as you go in your world around you, and hopefully teaching our kids. I think teenagers have a especially harder time with this, and that's because they're younger. They're still, like, our prefrontal cortex doesn't grow fully until we're 25, and so they're still trying to mature, and that sometimes they'll discover something and they feel like they're now the expert, and that's because they're starting to become maybe a little more expert in the time that they have been able to put into it through their life. But to help humble them a little bit and help them see and show that this isn't your everything. Like, there's so much more out there, that we, of course, giving them that encouragement and praise for what they have accomplished, but we can still be open to others and give praise. Giving praise and compliments is free, right? So we should keep doing that. But I wanted to end. Here's another thing I forgot to mention. As far as entertainment goes, I forgot to mention I watched this movie called Queen of Katwe this week, and I'd seen it with my husband, but now I watched it with my kids, and I thought, I don't know if they'll like it. It's a movie about, but they did like it. It's a movie about this girl from Uganda that is like a chess prodigy, and she went really far with chess, and she even won like the nationals for it, and just helping my kids understand and see what their situation is compared to maybe places like that they don't have that much privilege, and helping my kids get out of themselves. And we had went to Pizza Pie Cafe that day, and then we went to a fun center to go play arcade games, and then coming home and watch that movie. And this was on Monday, and I just try to help them see, like, it's a privilege to do those things. Like, that's not normal necessarily, to just be entertained, because look, these people have to carry their water. They have to sweep out all the water out of their house if there's a flood, and they have dirt floors. They have like 2 pairs of outfits, and they don't always get to go to school. So it just shifts our perspective, and they were really interested in it and wanting to know more. So it was really cool, and I thought I'd share that with you guys. It was a really good movie. It came out, I think, in like 2017, and it's just great. I'm hoping for them to continue to see outside themselves. But this last thing I want to share with you today is to ask God to help you change your mind. So I had this experience where I was really struggling with someone, and I wrote down a list of things that were bothering me, and I did it not in like like that kind of mindset and tone, but it was a list so that I could then think about what can I change. I'll give it to you, and there's a picture of Christ. I'm always looking up here sometimes when I'm really trying to focus these messages more back to Christ, because we are to be smart on our prayers and conversations to God, and having the Savior acting as if he's right here with me, understanding what I'm going through, that these are things that are hard and they're real, and this is actually going to be the best way that I can move forward once I figure these things out and make myself better. What can I change? Because it's not about changing the other person. Nope. You can't do that. It's all about us, and how we navigate it. And the main conclusion I got was I just need to give more appreciation. And there are some things I need to stand ground for, but for the most part, just give more appreciation. And that is always, I feel like, the case with relationship problems, is more appreciation. And the person will always appreciate that back. And they'll want to even give you some of that back. But not to stand on this idea, on this hill of condescension, that you've got to figure it out, because everyone's on their own journey. And it's I be excited about what they're excited about. And that's, I was thinking about that with Christ. Can you imagine how silly he might think doing these messages are sometimes? Maybe not, but I felt like they were prompted. So yes, maybe it's not a good example, but it's the ideas of me doing different things, or if you are, that he's excited about it for you, right? And even when our kids do different things, we are to be excited for them. So this, of course, though, I get nervous as far as, it can go to the extreme of LGBTQ issues. I don't stand for those things, necessarily. So people that have to deal with that, is really tricky. But with it, whatever this person you have in mind, as I am having that person in mind, whatever they really care about, and it might bother you, you're like, why do they care about that so much? I don't even agree, or I think they're going about it the wrong way. That it's not about us necessarily. We of course need to counsel with whoever this person is, if it's really affecting your life or whatever. But we are that they can tell in your tone if you actually care, if it actually matters to you, because they matter to you. So that was what I got from it. And it just, from there, and I won't share it, it was more special to me that it just really showed to me I had gotten to that point of understanding, and my heart was softened. And next time I interacted with that person, it just became better and better. And I was just really grateful. And it just showed to me, and God showed to me, obviously, it was within that very moments after that I was needing to interact with them, and then going on, and it would end up being better. And I was so grateful. And I just feel so much better. And so it's like a steering wheel. We repent. Part of what I did was repentance, asking God, how can I change and do better with this? And what he had asked me to do was have less judgment on that particular thing. I wasn't judging righteously. I was not being appreciative. I wasn't giving love. I was withholding my charity. So he gave that to me and helped me see that. And I could tell it wasn't for me necessarily, my natural man self. And that steering wheel, I didn't make a big, huge mistake, but I was able to adjust a little bit. Sometimes we do need to make those big course corrections in our repentance process. But if we do that little by little every day, that matters. So those are my thoughts. That was a good one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm going out of town to St. George this weekend, and so it might be a little tricky. I try to do something next week, maybe on Thursday or Friday. But hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and that you remember your Savior and all the things that you're going through in your life, and notice those patterns. Notice how you can build Zion those little ways, one at a time. Seek out good stories, seek out good entertainment. It all matters. We need to keep the Spirit with us. And I appreciate you listening to this. That's really cool. You might have a little bit of a YouTube addiction too, but I guess it's for good things too. But thank you again and have a great day.